And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Wow, 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 I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't. I feel good.
Yeah, we feel good here on Declare Your Independence of me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, with my good friend Terry Bressi, the man behind checkpointusa.org, and I have browbeat him in to make sure he submits something for the magazine, because this is important information. We have Liberty on Tour. Pete Iyer is going to be sharing with us a lot of things that's going on in the magazine also, and they have their own content. 4409 has his own content, and a lot of it is built on what Terry Bressi has supplied them. You know, this is... You know, he was way ahead of everybody by years on this. He was very clear in defining what it was they were doing and where the problems were. But as we anticipated then, it's like a clean your crap up manual for the man. Did they? Well, we'll hear about that. So now you've been arrested. You're sitting there for a few hours. You're watching this go on. You're seeing what they're doing. They finally get you to... Whoop, I got a noise thing here. Oh, it's my phone vibrating. And what we're going to do is have you go ahead and continue after you got to leave. Then what? When did you file suit? What happened to the criminal action? Who got involved in it? What was their response?
I was just at that time starting to get involved with local libertarians down here in Tucson. And after I got home, I basically wrote up my account of what had transpired, so it was all fresh in my mind, and I got down all the most important details and that sort of stuff. I started making some phone calls and emails and saying, "Hey, I fully intend on fighting this thing to the hilt. I want to bring this full bore into the court system. I want to defend myself, get the charges dismissed, and then turn around and file a civil rights lawsuit. Who do I need to contact?" And overwhelmingly, the answer that I got back from 6 or 7 different sources was Mark Victor, who at the time and still is a criminal defense attorney up in Phoenix. And so at the earliest opportunity, I got a hold of him, and we set up a meeting, and I went up, and we talked, and he liked the case and decided to take it, and I signed him on to represent me for the criminal charges that had been brought against me.
Okay, so then you're going, all right, we're filing. I'm making an argument. We're making an argument. Now, we're talking December of 2002. I remember us talking in early 03 or before that summer, I think. And then, so how long did it take you to file? I mean, first, before you even did the civil suit, you were defending against the criminal charges, and you had to go. So kind of run us through that real quick. We'll take extra time. You know, Terry's agreed to stay longer than the first hour if we need to, because I want to get this in the article. We've had this story before, but there's a lot of the new young people, revolutionaries, have not heard this and don't know that this case went to the Ninth Circuit. And there was a limited win, and we made all kinds of hay on this thing. Mark Victor, then when he would take on other cases like this with Shelton and with the Pastor Anderson and all this, the reason was he already knew. He had already been through this with Terry. You know, not only did he learn something, and we all learned something, and you learned something, it was, you know, it taught a lot to the government, too. So what they can get away with and can't and this, and it just exposes the system for what it is. So walk us through that.
Oh, sure.
The criminal defense did what?
Well, as you can guess here, the shenanigans at all levels, not only at the checkpoint itself, but within all of the legal proceedings have just been a big, huge boondoggle and shenanigans at every level. So I hired Mark Victor to represent me, and he filed notice with the Justice Court down here in Pima County that I was being represented. And when he contacted the court didn't know what he was talking about. They hadn't heard of the case. They hadn't seen the charges, nothing. And we were like flabbergasted. This was like a day or two before we were supposed to make an appearance in court on the date that the police had written on the citation, and the court didn't know anything about it. And what we found out was that the tribal police never filed the proper paperwork with the court. I think what they figured, they did a little bit of research. They figured out that they weren't going to get much out of me. I wasn't a smuggler. I was, a highly respected individual and researcher at the University of Arizona. They didn't have anything on me, and it was just going to be a lose-lose for them to pursue it. So they decided that they would hope that it would just go away if they just failed to file the paperwork, and I would just be as happy as pumpkin pie that I didn't have to face charges. Well, that wasn't the case. I was really pissed, and I was fully intending on flushing the issue out. I wanted an answer from the courts whether or not I did something wrong or did they do something wrong, and I was fully intending on getting a verdict one way or the other.
So how do you get them to? You say no. You see this paper here? File it. Go do something. Make it go whir. I mean, what did you have? What did they have to do?
So Mark requested that the court dismiss the charges against me with prejudice. They dismissed the charges against me, but they did it without prejudice. And this is, once again, for people who don't understand how the court system works in the so-called justice system, it's a Class 3 misdemeanor for a police officer in the state of Arizona not to file a traffic citation with a court once they have issued a traffic citation. A Class 3 misdemeanor. Okay, so the tribal police violated the law by not filing the proper paperwork with the court. And the court also has its own rules that requires the police officers to file the paperwork with them in a timely manner. So they failed all the way around. And to reward them for their violating the law, violating my rights, and violating court procedure, the court only dismissed the charges without prejudice, which gave the police an opportunity to refile the charges against me at a later date. So I talked to Mark and I said, look, Mark, if I'm not going to get satisfaction out of the charges against me, I'm going, I fully intend to file a lawsuit here. So, what's the process for doing that? He said, well, look, just hold your horses here a bit. Let's wait for the statute of limitations to run down. He said, you have 6 months to file a notice of claim with a government agency in the state of Arizona to give them notice that you intend to sue them unless they meet certain requirements. So why don't you wait until that 6 months is just about over with to give the tribal police ample opportunity to refile the charges against you to show that they were doing so in good faith. But if you wait 6 months, then you file the notice of claim, and then after you file the notice of claim against them, if they refile the charges after that, you'll have a strong case that they're just refiling to be malicious and to try to protect their own rear ends from the lawsuit. So that's what I did. Waited 6 months. I filed notices of claims on 4 of the tribal police officers, including the chief of police, and 2 days later, they refiled the charges against me.
How predictable.
Yeah.
Okay. So they file the charges. Now you got a criminal charge you can play with. They're almost. It's almost like taking candy from a baby. Okay, so they file the charges, and then what fun did you have?
Well, they refiled the charges, and so I hired Mark Victor again to represent me, and he did a couple of telephonic interviews with several of the police officers. Got a lot of very good information from them during those interviews. And he also subpoenaed during those interviews copies of checkpoint guidelines, which are required by any agency conducting a checkpoint. He subpoenaed them from the police officers for the pretrial hearing that took place on December 9th of 2003. So we showed up at the Ajo Justice Court on December 9th for this pretrial hearing. And lo and behold, the police officers show up, but they requested an in-chambers conference with the judge when they first showed up. And it turns out that they told the prosecuting attorney, because now you got to think about the jurisdictions here, okay? The tribal police do not have jurisdiction over non-tribal members. So what they did is they convinced the Pima County Attorney's Office to pursue the charges against me. So it wasn't the tribal police that were pursuing charges; it was the Pima County Attorney's Office.
Okay, now
so
the reason. Okay, good. Hold where you're at. We want to make sure we don't miss anything. Make a note, write it down, because this is the beginning of the amplification of the police state, and it always starts where? In Arizona. Why? Because we just have that mentality here. They didn't put that stuff in the water, I guess, we get to say no.